In Osu, there's many different ways players in this game find enjoyment. Some players like the progressive improvements they're able to achieve over time. Some players simply just play for the music aspect. I kinda wanna use this video as an opportunity to look at the different playstyles within Osu, and even share a few tips for them. This video will primarily focus on Mania, but I'm sure this topic applies to the other modes as well. If you've ever submitted a score on any ranked beat map, you fall into this category at some point. Most new players tend to play for rank, since it's the most visible and prominent metric in the game, and as a new player, playing pretty much any map at this point increases your PP and rank, so it can really give you a good sense of progression at the start. New players might not exactly understand how PP is awarded, or what exactly weighted means and all that, but the general sense of doing good on different maps is always clear, and it's quite easy to climb out of 7 digits early on. Some players take this a step further and make it their goal to maximize these numbers as best as they can. This is where terms like PP farming and PP maps come in. If I would have to describe it, a PP map is any map designed in a way to maximize the PP awarded while minimizing the expertise needed to execute such patterns. What's rewarded in the performance points isn't always the most difficult patterns possible in a map, and this is where we have a gap of maps being designed within the specific category, intentionally or not. No matter how much we try to tweak the PP algorithm or difficulty calculator, there will always be some sort of meta in which players realize a specific pattern or genre of mapping is more rewarding compared to the perceived difficulty. In standard, jumps used to be heavily favored, but recently it seems like speed streams dominate the leaderboard. If you're struggling to find new maps you could set scores on for PP, you can always look at your friend's profile or the profiles of similarly ranked users and try any of the maps from their top scores. There might even be some maps there you've never heard of. The longer you play, the lesser things there are for you to improve on, so it can kind of become harder to find that continuous improvement that you had early on in your time as a player. This is further emphasized if you ever peaked your rank in a way. Maybe this is just me, but there's really little incentive to try and gain ranks again. Even if I got back to top 3k, top 2k, 3-digit, or even top 500, I've already been in the top 400, so it really wouldn't feel as rewarding getting back to a rank I've already had. I don't even feel like I was exactly a better player back then. I just played more of what was favored in the PP calculation, and since then, I've been focusing on other things anyway, like accuracy and 10k. This is when players might realize that rank doesn't exactly equate to skill. In fact, some of the best players in this game are nowhere near the top 100, as the main thing that rewards a lot of PP in this mode is strain, which is just one aspect of difficulty in maps. If your rank graph looks like this, then that probably means you're actively playing towards your upper limit. It would be best to set a goal for yourself and to keep finding ways to improve your skill. If your rank graph looks like this, then it's probably alright to stop stressing about rank decay so much, especially if you've already proven yourself with a higher rank in the past. And maybe it's better to shift your focus on raw improvement itself, and eventually you may find yourself unintentionally gaining ranks again. You're probably familiar with the yearly World Cup tournaments that happens for Mania, but there's actually quite a number of lower level tournaments that occur. These can be regional, for a specific rank range, and even for certain key counts. A few months ago we had the Pinky Bracket tournament, which was for 10 key players, and we had a wide range of ranked players participating. Tournament players tend to be well versed in the sense of playing a wide range of different maps. They often play with Score v2 and multiplayer, and are usually way better than their rank suggests. I'm not too familiar with how exactly tournament players are when it comes to mindset and not getting nervous and all that. If you do want to get into the tournament style of playing, I'm sure there's many Discord servers that are good for finding ongoing tournaments, as well as the Osu forum, which has a set topic for it. Try to do more multiplayer games with Score v2 and playing maps of skill sets you're not comfortable with. The more you play in tournaments, the better you'll become in dealing with nervousness and being able to set scores on command like that. This next playstyle is one that I have a lot of experience with. In fact, we can even divide it up into two categories, playing for rank score and playing for specific ranks. When going for rank score alone, you're not really concerned about what rank grade you're given on each map, so you'll probably want to play in a way that maximizes the possible score you can get. So no key count conversion mods, no halftime or no fail, unless you can't HP pass the map, maybe even DT. You'll notice that the highest ranked score players have the biggest ratio of S and even A ranks compared to SS scores, and this is why. They basically play everything they can, regardless of what the skill might net them. On the opposite side of this, we have playing for specific ranks, whether that be SS only, maybe S ranks, and even sometimes A rank depending on the player. With this method, you're limited to your own skill level, as well as longer maps basically being out of the question for SS ranks. You can set star limits for yourself. For example, maps below 3 stars, I usually go for SS rank. Anything above 4.1 and I'll just play it once and get whatever score on it. For maps in between, the difficulties usually vary a lot. If I'm having a long session and I get a 1x or a few misses, I'll add the map to a collection and come back to it later. It's good to have that sort of upper limit for maps so you can just play them back to back without worrying about what grade you get. The thing with score farming, and more so rank farming, is how time consuming this style of playing is. is. You're limited to how much progress you can make based on the lengths of each map. Unlike in Standard, where higher combos and thus longer maps are more rewarding, each map in Mania is capped at 1 million score, so you're better off playing as many of the shorter maps as you can, as they take up less time, and you can really rack up a large amount of progress before you even have to set foot in a 2-minute map. Once you do get around the top 30 rank score area, or more than 10k SS ranks, things will slow down by a lot, and it starts taking hundreds of scores just to pass the next person, and you'll start to run into longer and longer maps. It's best to just keep a steady pace here and go little by little so you don't burn out. Even listening to a podcast or a YouTube video can help with getting through some of these marathon maps. This next one is a bit different from score farming, yet also involves playing a wide number of maps. On Osu, only the number 1 ranks on the maps are tracked on a user's profile. However, some players also strive for top 8 or top 50 placements on maps, and these rankings can be tracked by third-party websites. If you're going for rank 1 scores, you basically need to 1-mill the map, where there's always that possibility of someone beating your score in the future. You'll have to be one of the first players to set a score on the map, especially on easier difficulties, as these types of maps tend to fill up with leaderboard placements. For leaderboard placements in general, it really depends on how stacked the map is, as well as for how long it's been ranked. Newer maps tend to get more activity, and not all the best players who will play the map have arrived yet. So sometimes you might even need to replay the map if your initial score was not as good as you previously thought. If tied scores were counted for better, this could honestly be an interesting metric to base ranks off of, or even a secondary supplemental ranking. Wasn't PPV1 like this? Kind of like how FFR has its average rank mechanic. Imagine if your placements across all ranked maps determine a sort of ranking. Playing more maps would be extremely overweighted, and it wouldn't really factor in the difficulty as well, but it still seems like an interesting idea to think about. If you primarily play in a different client and only play Osu occasionally, then you fall into this category. It can really be thought of in 2 ways. Either you're one of these BMS veterans who come to Osu and completely destroy the leaderboard and speedrun into the top 20 like it's nothing, or you prefer what some of these other clients offer and like to spend more time practicing there. So programs such as Soundsphere, Quilight, Quaver, Eterna, a lot of these clients do certain things differently to Osu, and each has their own features or distinct advantages that really make them overall more appealing to play in, especially when focusing on practice. I personally love Soundsphere because it feels like the better client to use for higher key count gameplay. I only have about 910k maps, but being able to have all my songs from Osu, Eterna, and Quilight in one place, and the ability to convert them into 10k is game changer. Even if the patterns don't always make the most sense, I can still enjoy my favorite songs in ways that just wouldn't be possible with Osu alone. There's also many players who prefer Quaver's SV effects and Eterna's more detailed accuracy system, so it may be a good idea to explore some of these other games as they offer distinct features that could benefit your practice or playing experience. This can range anywhere from mappers, modders, BNs, streamers, YouTubers, tournament organizers, spotlights, loved. Basically, if you're involved with the game in any way that specifically isn't playing, I would consider that in this category. If you wanted to get involved in creating beat maps, there's a lot of different resources to get started. Even if you're not an official staff member or BN, there's always ways that you can help with the content in this game, whether that be on specific maps or just giving other players tips. This game is mostly community driven, so each and every effort that everyone makes really adds up to everything that we enjoy about this game. Seriously, imagine if it was just Peppy and his team creating maps and skins and doing all the development in this game. There wouldn't be nearly as many ranked maps, and it probably wouldn't be as popular as it is. So even if it's not as impressive to sit down and make a few maps compared to someone setting a 1000 PP score, if it wasn't for these players, we wouldn't have much of the game to play in. Anyway, I hope this video was somewhat interesting. It was just a random idea that popped up in my head when I was thinking about all the mappers who I've never seen actually submit scores. Let me know which category you primarily fall in, and if there's anything I missed out on.